Hello guys, and welcome to another tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at geometry nodes in Blender 3.0, and we're going to be specifically making this typography scene here. And I've just gone with some random number, as you can see. But essentially we're going to be using point distribution to make these little monkey heads that we're going to put in their own collection, kind of like appear or be placed over this text here. So this is something you could use for some typography kind of stuff, but you know, if you think this is something you'd want to watch, keep watching. If you're interested in something else, I've got a lot of other content on my channel. So you will be needing Blender 3.0, which you can get at blender.org. It's completely free. So let's get started. So we're going to get started by making our text geometry. So I'm going to select all of the default objects. I'm just going to hit delete. And then I'm going to go Shift A. I'm going to go and add in some text. And with that text active, I'm going to tab into edit mode. And let's make that something. I'm just going to make it, I don't know, let's say 73. I'm going to tab out, and then I'm going to go RX90, and I'm going to hit enter. So I've just rotated this 90 degrees on the X-axis. So if we were to go into our front orthographic view, you can see it from the front like this. We're now going to go to our text options here. Go to the geometry, and over here you can mess around with the offset to give it a bit more chunkiness. I think it just works better. By the way, you can use different fonts by loading them into Blender. I'm not going to get into that, but there are customizable options. And then when you come here to the extrude, and this is where you can give it some thickness. Don't make it too thin, just something like that should be fine. Once you're done with that, you're going to hit F3 and you're going to type in convert. And let's go convert to mesh. So now if we tab into edit mode, this is mesh. Cool. Now let's go over to our modifiers, and let's give this, first of all, a remesh. So we're going to go to remesh, make it smooth, and let's make the octree level 7. And you can see the 7 disappears, but if we tab into edit mode and we hit everything, and then we hit P, we can go by loose parts. Then if we tab out, okay, maybe don't do loose parts, so let's just undo that. Undo that. So go into edit mode and just select the whole 7 by itself by going to the front view and in wireframe. So select the whole 7, hit P, and then go separate by selection. Okay, then tab out. So now you can see they're both separate objects, but we're going to hold in shift and select both of them, and then we're going to type in F3 again, and we're going to type in again convert and then convert to mesh. So now if we went into edit mode, we can see these are both converted to mesh. Okay, so let's tab back out into object mode. Select one, holding in shift, select the other, hit Control J or Command J, and it'll join together into one mesh. We can also hit F3, and we can type up here, set origin, and we're going to set the origin to the geometry, so the origin point is tucked neatly in the center there, and then I'm just going to move it up on the X to the center. You can place it anywhere, it's your scene, but now we have this essentially, okay? We can start working with it. So let's get into the geometry nodes themselves. So I'm going to lift up or drag up my timeline. I'm going to go to the editor type and let's make it geometry nodes. So now we have a nice, neat little workspace here. Let's go ahead and click new to add in some nodes. Make sure you're over here in your modifiers. You should be able to see the nodes as well. If you don't have this, say for example, I chucked in a solidify here and I have the solidify node selected. Even if you have this text or geometry active, you won't see it. You have to make sure you actually select the geometry node to be able to see it, okay? So just keep that in mind for the future. It has confused me the first time I did it. Cool, so let's start by getting a point instance. So we're gonna go Shift A, search, and let's get a point instance. So I'm gonna get a point instance, and I'm gonna place the point instance on the cable here. And we're gonna go with object instead of collection. So let's obviously add in the object. So I'm going to go and add in a Suzanne monkey head. And I'm going to go GX. I'm going to move it over to the side. And I'm going to hit Control 1. And I'm going to give it some subdivision. Go to object mode. And I'm going to enable shade smooth. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to go to materials, click new. And I'm going to go down to my viewport display. And I'm just going to give it something like blue, just so I can see it has a material applied. Then I'm going to go and select that text object again, which you can't see at the moment. But if you come here to your point instance and you click on eyedropper and you select the monkey, you're going to see this, which is really crazy at the moment. So let's start by just going to our modifiers. And I'm just going to untick the little window here so we don't see anything. Otherwise, it's going to, slow us down a bit. And we're going to add in some more nodes. So let's tell it what else to do. So let's get a point distribute. So we're going to go Shift A, search, and let's type in point. And this time we're going to get a point distribute, and we're going to place it in front of the point instance, and we're going to change it to Poisson disk. And let's come over here to the density, and let's make it just something like 12, just to start off with. And now let's turn that window back on, and now we can see that's a lot better, right? So now we can control the density here, and we can also control the distance, which we won't get into right now because it's too big. We really need to get that scale down. So a simple way to do that is with a point scale. So let's go Shift A, search, and let's type in point, and let's get a point scale. And let's place it towards the end here. So we're going to put it past the point instance. And let's change the scale here. So what we're going to do to change all of them at the same time, we're going to left click on the top one, and we're going to drag down till they're all active. And now you can see they're all editable. And then we're going to click point 1, and we're going to hit enter. Okay, what I've done here, I've actually placed it in the wrong place. So just plug that out, okay? And let's just place this point instance before, this point scale before the point instance, and now plug the geometry back in. Okay, now that's a lot better, okay? So now we have the ability to control the scale here. The scale is still a little bit big, so let's just come here, click, drag down so they're all active. Let's make it 0.02. And that's a bit better for now. And let's come to our density here, and let's make it 120 just as a start. Okay, so now you can see the monkeys are being distributed, but that's cool, but maybe we can add some more monkeys. So maybe let's grab the monkey head here, and for a start, let's go Shift D X and move it over to the side. And just in case you're wondering why I didn't just scale the monkeys down this way, because if we did and we applied the scale, we could control the scale, but I'm going to try and show you guys how you can do it with the geometry nodes. All right, so how we can use the different nodes. That's why I'm not scaling the monkey heads in the viewport. So just to teach you that workflow. We're then going to go to the materials, get rid of the material, and let's give that monkey its own material. And I'm just going to go to the viewport once again and make that, its own color. And while we're at it, let's just duplicate another monkey, get rid of that material, give it its own material, go to the viewport and just give it a color, just so you can see the difference, right? And let's actually select all of these monkeys. Let's hit M, and let's make it a new collection. And let's just call it monkeys. And hit OK. Now we should see we have a collection here that only has those monkey heads. Make sure nothing else is in there. We're then going to select our text object here. And now we're going to change the points instance to a collection. Untick whole collection, and then come to the collection here and make it monkeys. Now we can see we have all of these monkeys being distributed on the point instance, which is really cool. Now at the moment, you could just come here and you can increase, the density of it. And you can also increase the max distance, the min distance here. And that'll kind of fill in the spaces between the individual monkeys, but you don't want to go overboard with that. But one of the things that you can also edit if they look a little bit sparse is you can come and drag these values up a bit. So I can make it back to 0.05 maybe try 0.02. So what I've kind of got at the moment is I have a distance of 0.05 and I've got a density of 200. And so far I've set all of the size here, all of the vectors at 0.04, right? But one of the things that's really going to make this look cool is rotating the actual monkey heads. It's also going to make it look a little bit fuller. So let's go and get a point rotate. So we're going to go Shift A, we're going to go search, and let's type in point, and let's get ourselves a point rotate. And the point rotate is going to go right after the point density and before the point scale. And let's leave it at Euler. Leave all of these as they are. But now let's come here and let's randomize the rotation. Or not randomize, let's give the monkeys some rotation, right? Something like this, kind of mess around with it, but one of the things you're going to notice is that the monkeys are all rotating the exact same way. So let's give it some random variation. So we're going to go Shift A, search, and we need an attribute. So let's go A, T, T, and let's get attribute. In fact, just type in attribute and then type in R, so attribute R, and you should see randomize, so attribute randomize. And we're going to put the attribute randomize before the point scale, right after the point rotation. We're going to leave it as float, but this time we're going to come here and we're going to change this here to multiply. And then we're going to come here to our attribute and let's make that rotation. So now if we come here and we drag up this max value, we can see we have random variation, and that looks a lot cooler. So now we have a way of rotating all of the monkey heads in a different way, a very random way. We have a way of controlling over here the scale of the monkey heads, and over here under the point distribution, we have a way of controlling the density of the monkeys and also the distance, but you got to be careful with this distance one here. So maybe 0.003 even, 0.03. Just mess around with it, mess around with the density, but around here should be kind of the numbers you're looking for. So that's how you can kind of distribute the monkeys over the surface here. So let's add a quick plane in here. So I'm just going to move this up. I'm going to hide that monkeys collection. We don't need to see it. And then I'm going to go Shift A. I'm just going to quickly add in a plane. I'm going to scale it up on the X. I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to go to edge select. Select this edge back here and just pull it back. And then E to extrude, Z and extrude it up. And then I'm just going to move it back in the scene. I'm going to select this edge here. I'm going to go Control B and I'm just going to roll my middle mouse wheel while I move my mouse to bevel this like that. Tab out, go to object mode and enable shade smooth. Let's quickly go into our front view, add in a quick camera. I'm going to move my camera back. Under my camera settings, I'm going to make the focal length 95. And I'm just going to move it back even more. Go into camera view and you should be able to see this. You can move your camera back and forth. So something like that should be fine. And let's quickly add in a light, so an area light. And let's increase the strength to 120. Increase the size maybe a bit, and then let's go into rendered mode. And actually, let's change this to cycles. Cycles will look really cool. So because we're working in Blender 3.0, cycles is going to be a lot faster. So I've changed it to cycles. And I'm going to go to my denoising here, and I'm going to make it under render. I'm going to enable it, and I'm going to also change it to optics. So maybe with my light here, I'll bring the intensity down, maybe to 90, something like that. Just add in some lights. I'm going to duplicate it till I'm kind of happy with the lights. So maybe duplicate one, rotate it off to the side here. So let's have a look at that. Okay, that looks pretty cool. So now we have some nice lighting. If you hit Control B and you click somewhere in the scene and you drag over your camera, you can limit the render to the viewport here, which kind of helps. So let's start by just going to our monkeys collection, enabling it. And let's just select the first monkey and let's go to our shading workspace. And I'm going to go into my camera view. I'm going to hit Z. I'm going to go rendered. And with the first monkey selected here, I'm going to go to the first material I created and I'm just going to make it something. So I'm going to make it maybe a bit yellowish, make the metallic a little bit higher, and then bring down the roughness to kind of make it look like gold. Then I'll select the second one and maybe make that a kind of reddish, make it slightly metallic, bring the roughness down. And then finally, maybe make this material something, just experiment around. Try different things. It can be anything you want. So I just got these 3 different materials here that I've just made, mostly metallic. I'm just going to select the background, click new, and I'm just going to make the background a bit darker, just like that. So now we have this nice looking scene here. And now let's just quickly save it. So I'm going to save it to my desktop. Just call it whatever. You can be as creative as you want. And let's quickly go render and render image, and let's see what that looks like. And because we're using Cycles X, it should be quite fast.